This is my focus group on crime dramas. So, have you watched any crime dramas recently, and if so, which ones?
The most recent crime dramas I've seen have been two of my favourite. So that will have been Eric on Netflix with Benedict Cumberbatch. That was incredible because I think it explored not only the sort of law enforcement aspect, but also the psychology behind it, whilst also having this like really intense anticipation. Then the other one I saw was Love and Death, which was really interesting because it was a court case, but you didn't know whether the person being put on trial for the murder actually, did it.
Anyone else?
I've watched Lucifer quite recently, which is a little bit supernatural, I suppose, but it is still inherently a crime drama, and I really enjoyed that.
So, if you were to watch a crime drama, would you prefer it to be more realistic or with some fictionalized aspects like Lucifer?
I feel like it could be more grounded in reality, but having supernatural elements wouldn't take too much away from it, unless it was really over and it didn't really add much to the plot and it was just kind of there.
So, what aspects did you enjoy of the recent crime dramas you've consumed?
Well, kind of like the last question, I quite like the fictional aspect of it because it kind of gave you things that you wouldn't always necessarily expect to happen next because of fiction.
Yeah, but I think with fictionalized and realistic crime dramas, if it's fictionalized with supernatural elements, there has to be like a high budget, because otherwise it looks like visually awful, and you can just tell.
But I think Lucifer had quite a high budget.
But that's what I mean. I think with realistic crime dramas, you can be done really well on a small budget. I just don't think that's the same for ones with supernatural elements. That was what I meant to say.
Well, I think with Lucifer, it's kind of supernatural, but it kind of uses elements from like the Bible and like, kind of religious imagery.
Okay. Would you prefer a more rural or urban setting in a crime drama?
Urban, 1,000%. I'm so strong on this one, but I think that's because of what I know best, because I live in an urban landscape, and I think there's also so much scope for variation. Like there are so many different settings that you can use within an urban thing, and also I find that, like I've seen, I think it's like Midsummer Murders or something, and they do it in the countryside, and there's part of me that just sort of feels like that's somebody's back garden.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel as realistic to me, but I don't know if that's just because what I'm used to within regular like TV.
Like, does it feel really samey? Like it's the same kind of environment every time? Because I would say I prefer rural, just because there are lots of different environments you could go in with different settings that would be within that scope.
Like,
And at the same
such as
time,
what?
field, forest, someone's house, because they're even with urban environments, it's just buildings.
Yeah.
So you could have,
I would disagree.
yeah.
Just because with a city landscape, it's not just buildings. It's like you have alleyways and you have
Buildings.
different venues that you can go into, like different domestic settings.
Yeah.
There are, Jesus.
I think
Most or more organised and logical in their decisions.
I think you'd want them to be sort of in between, because you wouldn't want someone to be really messy and kind of like difficult to work with, maybe, because that wouldn't feel very realistic, and you'd feel like, oh, these people would not want to work with this person, why are they being put in this position of power? At the same time, if they're really organised, it can be really difficult for people to relate to that, because it doesn't feel natural.
I think with most protagonists, I want them to be a prodigy within their own field, like whether it's a villain or it's, a detective or whatever. But I think with being so genius of whatever field that they're in, there has to be an element of chaos. There must be a multi-dimensionality. That's not a real word. But like that, they must be multi-dimensional.
Maybe like slightly unhinged.
Yeah.
Like willing to burn the world for whatever their aim is.
Passionate.
Passionate,
Yeah.
passionate.
And for my last question, what would you expect to see in the opening scene of a crime drama?
Probably the crime being committed as a way to introduce the threat of the antagonist.
I disagree, personally. I just think it's, from things that I've seen, I find the more of like the world building, seeing the protagonist or the antagonist in their natural habitat, their day-to-day life, and then through that there are little hints of like what might be like unhinged or unfortunate about them, if you know what I mean, like just have them say sat down at a dinner table but there's like a specific insert shot of the knife or something. I find that more interesting personally.
Perfect.